So we are in part 2 of our series titled New Normal. New Normal. And this, well, I mean, I don't have to tell you, it's been quite a year, pretty challenging. 12, 13 months we've all been going through. And kind of the premise of this series is that hiding in all the challenges and the difficulty of the past year, hiding within it is a tremendous opportunity. And I think this is true. I mean, there could be a number of reasons this is true, but one that comes to mind is there is a family, or he was a family therapist named Murray Bowen, and he kind of came up with this family systems theory. One of his ideas was basically that every relational system, which a relational system would be, I mean, like a nuclear family, even just a marriage, like two people. It could be like a church community like this, a business, even a city. It's sort of like anywhere you have relationships happening. His idea was that when you have a relational system, it craves homeostasis, meaning it craves stability, sameness. Like, let's just keep doing the same old things in the same old ways. And you can kind of see how this plays out because, I mean, think of even when someone in like your little family system or your relational system is like trying to make changes, whether it's the boss, like, hey, we got some changes coming down the pike, or even in a marriage or in a relationship, like where someone's like, hey, I want to make some new changes, like even if they're good ones. Like I need to get my diet like going, and we got to make some changes around here. And immediately, even if it's a positive thing, it's kind of like, oh. And why is that? Because it disrupts the system, and we don't like that. Like, we just like the same thing. Now, so why does this matter for our purposes tonight? I think where it connects is that, like it or not, we have just had our boat rocked for the last year. No homeostasis was had. It was just difference. But because of that, all of a sudden, I think there's the possibility that maybe for some places where we were saying no to God, suddenly we might say yes. So all of a sudden we get new perspective on our life, right? Because like it or not, change happened, and we had to learn some things. We had to face some things in ourselves, in our relationships, in our worlds, and that opens up the possibility of a more healthy, a more vibrant new normal. Now, I say possibility because it's not like some guarantee, that all the changes will just be awesome. Sometimes we react in anxiety, in fear, anger, so there's all sorts of ways where it can kind of go haywire in a bad way. So the goal of this series is let's not go that path. Let's go the better path. Let's have a better, a more Christ-like, a more God-centered new normal. So at any rate, that is the series. And so tonight, the title of my message is From Busyness to Wholeness. From Busyness to Wholeness. Our scripture is going to be Isaiah chapter 55, verses 1 through 3. And this is the Lord kind of speaking through the prophet. And you'll notice it's very poetic. The prophets, we often don't think of them in this way, but the prophets were poets. And I think that's beautiful and powerful because it can help the message kind of ring true for us, even millennia after it's actually happened, right? Even when the people, the audience, the particular circumstances that Isaiah was speaking to have shifted, and yet I think it can still kind of echo down through the centuries for us. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and read Isaiah 55, verses 1 through 3. He writes, "Come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters. And you who have no money, come, buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without money and without cost." And he starts asking questions. Why spend money on what is not bread and your labor on what does not satisfy? And then he says, listen. You can hear the kind of, he's like imploring his audience, like, please listen to me. Eat what is good, and you will delight in the richest of fare. That means like the best of foods. Give ear and come to me. Listen that you may live. Now, I have no idea how that just hit you. Maybe some of you are like, oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. I love that. And others of you are like, Yeah, see, this is why I don't like poetry. I have no idea what he's talking about. Fair enough. Don't worry. My hope is that by the end of the message, it will resonate with everyone. So that's kind of the goal. So let me start here. I've heard it said that busy is the new fine. Y'all heard this? Busy is the new fine? And you can kind of track in what they mean, right? Like how when you greet people, right? When it used to be, I don't know, maybe 10 years, 20, at some point it started to shift, right? But it started off, you ask someone like, how are you doing? And they're like, fine. I'm doing fine. And by the way, I'm actually not totally down on this. I know you could kind of critique it like, hey, that's shallow. You always say you're fine, whether you're or not, and but here's the thing, like we don't want to just, literally every person like, how are you doing? Oh my gosh, absolutely terrible. We just start pouring it out. Now, hopefully church can be different, right? We can get to know people and connect and be honest. But I mean, I get why in society we can't go just, so my critique isn't so much the fine thing, like, oh, you are lying, I get it, but it's interesting, right? That it's shifted. We go from fine to, now sometimes people still say fine, but it started to shift, right? And now what's the thing everyone says? Busy, right? Busy. Like, how you doing? Busy. Oh my gosh, so busy. Slammed. Crazy. Crazy busy. Oh, you wouldn't believe it. Oh my gosh. Just the craziest week. Crazy week. Just we have like a million ways of saying basically busy. And it's just like this is just how we communicate now. It's almost as though we're all, I don't know, like in the achievement Olympics in a way, of like, because there's almost a status thing with it. You're kind of weird. If you're not busy, it's like, oh my gosh, what's the problem with you? You have an issue? Why aren't you busy? You don't have value in the world? It's like, okay. So there's kind of a status thing that goes with it. But honestly, I think at other times, it's not necessarily we're trying to one-up people. It's really just that we're literally just real stressed out because we're just like, we're really busy and we're kind of going. But it's interesting how the cultures kind of keep shifting and we just keep kind of getting the sense of being busier and we're all in the achievement Olympics, It's like the gold medal goes to, I don't know, whoever. I won't pick on people, but just, you guys are made like, whoa, I'm going to pick on some. Okay, the Bransons, like amazing. The Bransons, like they have just squeezed the most productivity out of this week. Way to go, right? Like there's almost this sense of everyone's trying to just, even the language in the culture, it's like if you look up articles on any like Business Week or Inc. or whatever, it's just these constant, productivity maximizers, just maximize, just squeeze every last drop out of the day and how to, it's just like, it's so intense. In fact, there's something that I've come across, y'all maybe have seen it because of social media, like hustle culture. Have y'all seen hustle culture? Like, and just to be clear, it's not bad to like work hard, that's not bad, but there is this sort of level that we're kind of pushing it to where it just seems really out of balance. So I found a few memes that I loved, not because I agreed, but I just thought they were hilarious. So here's one. I've got a dream worth more than my sleep. There you go. Like, that's hustle culture, right? Like, yes, I can imagine a medical doctor just being like, "Oh gosh, okay, no, that's not good. Actually, don't do that." Here's another one. The dream is free. The hustle sold separately. Yeah, so intense. This is hustle culture. It's all very, intense. And you can see here we got the palm tree, and it's sort of the ideal setting. It's a fascinating thing. Here's some statistics. 75% of parents in the United Kingdom said they were too busy to read to their kids at night. Isn't that fascinating? Like, what does that mean when, as a culture, and my hunch is it's probably similar in the U.S., what does that mean when we're too busy to like slow down and read to our kids? 55% of Americans don't use all their vacation time each year. Presumably this is talking about salaried folks. It's not like unpaid. It's like, hey, please, this is part of your job. You get 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. We're like, no, I'm not using it all. Too busy. A 2008 poll by USA Today, it found, basically they kind of tracked this over like 30 years. Maybe it kept going. I couldn't find a continuation into 2020, but between 1987 and 2008, they just tracked it, and every year over year over year, more and more people said they feel either busy or very busy than the previous year. To the point by 2008, it's 69% of people in the culture said, I feel busy or very busy. Only 8% responded, not very busy, not much, I mean, in the whole U.S., like, it means 92% of people are like, yeah, I'm pretty slammed. 8% are, I guess, living their best life, and they're loving it. I mean, it's apparently our culture is going bananas, or at least it was. And then the pandemic hit. You all remember this? Like the train of busy, we were all going. We had a plan. We had a schedule. The calendar is full, chock full. Every night is full. And we're like going. And then it was like 2 days. Like, I mean, kind of depending on which crowd you're listening to or your politics or various things. It kind of staggered for people. But, at some point, it was sort of like the world just kind of like, and we came to this grinding halt. And I mean, it was pretty amazing. At least at first, there was kind of this sense of, we just went from, oh my gosh, I'm slammed, busy, crazy busy, to not that much going on. I remember one thing that shifted for us and our family almost immediately. It was the family dinners. We have tried to emphasize that. But still, we weren't close to 7 nights a week. And then all of a sudden, did y'all have this experience of whatever your kind of group was? Like, all of a sudden, there was like this kind of time to like eat as a family again, or eat with your housemates or whoever, you're in community with. It was like, wow, okay, I guess, it was almost like it used to be Monday nights were this, Tuesday nights were this, Wednesday nights were, and all of a sudden it was like, every night's the same. Like, go to work, come back, and okay. Now, having said this, it's, of course, wasn't necessarily true for everyone, right? I think depending on your kind of, segment, like if you're a frontline healthcare worker, this has maybe been quite a hellish year. Teacher, I know we got a few teachers. This wasn't like, oh yeah, chill year. Right, so it's not necessarily everyone, but for, I think, a pretty large percentage, things started to, it slowed down. And like I said, at first, man, it was like pretty great, We kind of dusted off the old board games and puzzles. Did y'all do some of that? Where you have I literally had to blow dust off of the puzzles. And then, things, I think this is actually kind of a similar arc as last week. And then all of a sudden things started to shift. Like, I talked last week about relationships, that at first, like, oh my gosh, to just have, kind of less people and things, like it was kind of a break. But then over time, we got lonely. And I think it was similar with the busy. Like at first, we thought, oh yeah, this is great. We just need to do this forever. But then it was like we kind of realized that in ways, like if we thought that a slowed down schedule was going to solve all our problems, within like a month or two, we realized, oh, okay, maybe not. Because it was like that old anxiety, some of those fears, some of those worries, like it was still there. Does that kind of make sense? Did some of you have this experience a little bit, like where it was, on the one hand, it was good to slow down, and yet what you thought would be a panacea, what you thought would be like, oh, praise the Lord, just like less busy, yes. All of a sudden, it was kind of like, oh gosh, okay, okay, actually, I kind of need to keep going here. I kind of need my busy a little bit. In other words, here's kind of a crazy thought. What if we aren't all victims of our busy? What if we're kind of like inviting the busy because we kind of need the busy? In other words, what if busy isn't our disease? What if it's actually our drug? Does that make sense? Like it's the thing we thought, I'm afflicted by busy. Oh my gosh, I don't know who did this to me. The world foisted busy upon me. I can't do anything about it. I'm a victim of busy. And then, but all of a sudden, when it went away, then we're like, oh gosh, okay, I'm actually kind of coping with all of the feelings deep inside me with my busy. I'm mostly avoiding all the feelings deep inside me with my busy. And if I can just keep going and never slow down enough to kind of face myself and my feelings, that's sort of the best way to go through life. Anyone tracking? Like I think this is a little bit of what we're doing. You might say, busy isn't our problem. It's sort of a pseudo solution. And don't worry, for those of you thinking I've forgotten Isaiah 55, don't you worry, I will come back. But I wanted to set it up because I think this actually gets to the root of some of what's going on in our world. And this is where I think there's a huge opportunity in the last year. Because we thought, if I could just kind of like think of busy as like the carpet in our house, like if I could just rip out this old musty carpet of busy, then I think what I'll find underneath is just a rock solid foundation of peace and joy, all the fruit of the Spirit. Just love, peace, joy, goodness. Like I just know if I can just get rid of this old carpet, oh, it's going to be great. And yet that's happened, right? We kind of ripped up that old carpet, and underneath, what was it? It was like anxiety, things I named earlier, right? Fear, worry, that kind of voice in the head. I don't know about you, but that voice in the head. I think it's interesting that the Bible calls Satan the accuser, and that's kind of that like voice in the head. Just that speaking that you're such a failure, you're not good enough. And when I'm unbusy, it's like that voice just ramps up. It almost gets worse. You see, I think we believe that the opposite of busyness is laziness, when actually what I want to contend tonight is that the opposite of busyness is wholeness. That's the title of the message, right? Wholeness, from busyness to wholeness. You might say that busyness is less a problem of the schedule and more a problem of the heart. Less a social out there problem and more a spiritual inner problem. Does that make sense? That in other words, before I have the problem of my calendar filling up and I feel like I don't know who's doing this, it's like it's us. There's a thing inside us that just might need it. And this is why I found the passage from Isaiah 55 so completely beautiful. Not because it clearly talks about being busy per se, like thou shalt not, have too many to-dos in thy list. Like clearly it didn't say that, right? But I think it gives such a beautiful picture of wholeness, of a rich, good, full life. Let me read it again. Come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters. Now again, remember this is poetry. So when he says thirsty, it's not literal. Right? Instead, I think we actually have a thirsty culture. You might say a very thirsty world. People are like just dying. And that's where I think a lot of the busyness is coming from. It's like I'm thirsty. I want something. I'm lacking something. I need more peace. I need more joy. I need more like stimulation. I just need something more. Right? So we're very thirsty. Come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters. You who have no money, come buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without money and without cost. Why spend money on what is not bread, your labor on what does not satisfy? Can you hear echoes there a little bit of the busy? Of the why are you like spinning your wheels on what does not satisfy? And you think, well, if I could just commit to one more thing, then I'd really feel like I'm living life to the full. He's like, why are you doing this to yourself? Listen to me. Eat what is good, and you will delight in the richest of fare. Give ear and come to me. Listen that you may live. I think what God just might be saying to us is that we're kind of trying to nourish ourselves on junk food. You might say kind of the Cheetos of distraction, the McRib of striving. That's the worst poetry in the world, by the way. I just did. That's terrible. Compared to Isaiah 55. But it's kind of like we're gorging on the cotton candy of busyness when what we're really hungry for, I think, is, what is it? It's God, sense of peace, love, connection. And this is what I love about these words: bread, water, wine, milk. I love that these words are so from the earth. They're not processed foods, not this is not Cheetos, right? This is like the from the earth kind of stuff. And so what I want to do, I want to actually kind of translate those out of kind of poetry and metaphor and kind of into our lives. And then I'll be done. So first, let's talk about bread. What's bread? I'm going to say bread are the things that nourish and fill me. Can you kind of see that in the metaphor? Bread. When you think of bread, it just fills you up. People can actually, if you make it kind of the old-fashioned way, it can literally sustain people, like for their whole lives. It kind of has all the amino acids you need. It has all the nutrients you need to survive. People could live on bread. Not so much store-bought bread today, but the old school bread, that can happen. Right? So bread, it nourishes, it kind of fills us. And so I guess the question is, what is it in your life that nourishes, that fills you? What is the activity, the thing you engage? It could be more of what you think of as a spiritual practice, or maybe it's just something in your life that actually God's offering that to you as bread. Is it reading the scriptures? Is it, thinking of that UK study, that poll, reading to your kids or your grandkids? You had that moment of you walk away from that time and it was just connection, right? They're sitting in your lap. Connection. Is it a coffee conversation with someone where you go deep? It's not just hey, how you doing? Oh, doing good. Fine, busy. But it's deeper. That just might be bread for you. What nourishes? What fills you? God's giving that to you as bread. Second, let's talk about water. Water. I'm going to say these are the things that refresh me. Isn't that what water does? It's just when you really need water. Have you ever had that moment where you wake up at 3 a.m. and you're so thirsty, and then you taste the water and it's actually sweet? Have you had this? A few of you, I see Preston and Carter, yeah. That's amazing, right? This is water at its best. It's just what you need, and it refreshes, it rejuvenates you. So I guess the question would be, what is it that refreshes? What rejuvenates? Is it, I don't know. Well, you tell me. What refreshes? What rejuvenates you? You can go ahead and you can speak out. I'm just thinking things of yoga. For me, it's running. Love that. What else? What else for you? Fishing. Yes, you see, that drives me bananas. But I can see how is there something beautiful for you about just the quiet? Yes. Just the water. Yeah. See, I would go out on the boat and probably just sit with you and just take it in. The actual fishing part, I'm kind of oh, I don't know. But that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. What else? Fishing. Going on a walk. Yeah. Especially if you can do it in a beautiful place. A beach. Yes. That's water. Yeah. That refreshes. Yeah. One more? Anyone? What refreshes you? Rejuvenates. Sleep. Hey, don't interrupt. I've got a dream, though, worth more than my sleep. No. Yeah, sleep. That's a powerful one, huh? Sleep. All right, let's talk about wine. Wine. I'm going to say bread, water, wine. Wine, these are the things that bring me joy. Things that bring me joy. It's interesting that Jesus' first miracle in the Gospel of John, anyone remember it? The water into wine. Isn't that interesting that Jesus' first miracle was to keep a party going? Isn't that amazing? I wonder if this is how people maybe who don't understand Jesus, I wonder if their perception is that he would never do something like that. Or that, but actually Jesus was a person of joy. Christianity, I think at its best, is a religion of joy. It's the best. So the question is, what's your wine? Some of you are thinking, my wine is wine. Can that be my wine? Is that sure? It's fine. Whatever. I certainly can't argue against it from the Bible. It's funny. People. I remember I was trained by, I'll just say, a very conservative denomination, and I remember the professor making an argument in class about why the wine in the Bible was nothing like the wine of today. It was way more watered down. And I was thinking about Jesus in the miracle, when he does that miracle, water to wine. Then what do the people say? If you remember the story, they say, "Oh my gosh, you most people, have the good stuff early on, and then as people get kind of wasted, they bring out the cheap stuff. But you save the best for last." Yeah, that was not water they were drinking. So what's your wine? What are the things that just bring you joy? And it's different than a thrill, right? Or just cheap entertainment, but true deep joy. I know for I was thinking of my brother-in-law, And I live with him, so I know that man loves board games. Oh my gosh. I'm choosing some non-spiritual things on purpose, just so you know. Of course, there's other practices. Worship, I got joy from this time, But even simple things, right? Board game, or like, you had to kind of learn some self-awareness, and like learn what do you love. So my brother-in-law, he loves board games. He listens to a podcast about board games. I didn't even know that existed, but there's a podcast about everything now. And he had like 3 friends over. They played board games for like 3 hours. He's like, dude, you want to play? I was like, no, man, that's your thing. I went and read a book. That was what brings me joy. Right, so it's different for every person. What is it? What is it that brings you joy? And might that just be like the wine for you? God's wine just for your life. Finally, milk. I'm going to say these are the things that help me grow. Ultimately, a life of just water and wine, probably not great. If you're just like, yeah, like this is sort of the idea of a perpetual vacation is better than an actual perpetual vacation because, it's like you can only drink so many pina coladas on the beach where you're just like, what am I doing with my life? Like what's going on? And there is a sense in which we always need to be growing. We need some challenges. We need some places where we're kind of being stretched and we're trying new things. We're pressing into new territory, and God's meeting us in the midst of it. When I think of, I think a lot of work can be like this, like good work, meaningful work. Can be a place where it's milk, stretching us, growing us. Even I think a lot of work here in church context, it's often milk. I think of those who are right now in that room with those little ones, right? It's not necessarily wine. They're probably not going to step out of that saying like, oh my gosh, it was such wine, it's easy. But what are they going to say? Hopefully it's milk. Hopefully it's I'm learning, I'm stretching, I'm growing. I think of folks who play on the team up here. And I know at times they can be nervous, right? It's sort of like a stretching experience. What is that? Doesn't mean it's bad? No, it's like you're being stretched, you're growing. Maybe I know people run marathons, do very, I don't know, just try hard things. Like, what is that? I think that's milk. It's milk. Mine right now is coaching soccer. That's my milk. I'm learning to how to yell without being angry, how to be patient, how to teach, and it's vulnerable because I'm not awesome at soccer myself. I don't know, I'm even learning the rules, but I'm the coach, right? And it's I'm being stretched, I'm growing. So in closing, I guess I just want to ask, what would it look like for us to leave the junk food behind? Because what if our busy is just substitutes for bread, water, wine, and milk? What if it's just sort of a junk food? It's just sort of like, keep it going, oh my gosh. And instead of kind of slowing down and prioritizing and saying, okay, God, what's the bread? What's the water? What's the wine? What's the milk in my life? I'm gonna focus in, and that means some things might have to get pushed to the side, but I'm prioritizing what you have for me in my life. And we might be less busy then, but I think more full. All right, let me pray for you. Lord Jesus, I thank you for this community. And I pray, God, just for a sense of just self-awareness to kind of come over us, that we would start tuning in to what the bread is, what the water is, what the wine is, what the milk is in our life. So that we could live full, rich, meaningful, faithful lives. Lives of true joy. God, would you do that work in us? And we love you. It's in the powerful, life-changing name of Jesus that I pray. Amen.